things that we really require, that is expected to be done within the civil service. And so we have actually been able to use that platform of CIFMIS. Yes, we've been able to use CIFMIS, at least start a process of digitalization. Digitalizing our personnel system, digitalizing our payroll system. But we are not there yet. And that's why I said we are still bringing in some innovative ideas to ensure that we are able to capture at the end of the day all that is expected to be captured, particularly in terms of our personnel information and the payroll system. What we're trying to do now is to develop, using the pedestal of CIFMIS, to develop what we refer to as our Ondo Human Resource Management System. So what we have done, already we have gotten to a point where we have been able to capture the personnel information of virtually all our staff. So we have a platform now that under the OD HRM, where we have, but if just on the press of a button, you can always say, okay, I want to get information in respect of Mrs. Nike Ogumodede. What's her grade level? When did she come into the service? When is she retiring? Within just the press of a button, you can get all those required information without asking for files here and there again. And the unique thing about the system is that it keeps upgrading. It keeps updating. As soon as probably an officer moves from 15 to 16, it upgrades and puts the person appropriately. And the same thing happens with the salary. So what we are trying to do now is to have an integrated system that will be able to handshake the personnel data system with our payroll system. And when we're able to do that, you see, certainly we'll be able to eliminate to a very infinitesimal level the issue of people changing dates, people, defrauding us using through the salary system and things like that. So we are still working on the CIFMIS, but what we are doing now, Mr. Gwenga, is that we are improving on what we got through the World Bank public service governance reform. We are improving on it. We are trying to make it better and to suit our purpose. Now, coming to oranges, thank you very much for that fantastic question. I knew I would still attend to some of these things as questions begin to come. And that's why I said when we begin to receive your questions, we'll be able to go to the specifics. Now, to the specific, oranges is our own homegrown health insurance scheme. When you look at some of these Western nations, talk about UK, talk about the US, talk about Germany, any of these Western nations, you see what makes the system tick there is the health insurance program. And for those of us who travel from here to all those places, if you have to go to some of those places, they will say, get your health insurance certificate here. There is one you get from the insurance companies before you travel. Because assessing health care is a very critical issue. And that's what the Ondo State government has also seen as very critical for the welfare of the entire citizenry of Ondo State. But so far, what government has done is to ensure that all public servants are captured through oranges. And what it entails is simply that for every public servant in Ondo State now, government pays about 60% of what should be what we can call the premium for your health insurance, and the civil servant pays the balance. And in doing that, what now happens is that, you see, for whatever you pay, I think for an average civil servant now, maybe at the level of permanent secretaries, that's when they'll be talking about thousands. It's just a token. every month that a civil servant pays, and once you pay, that covers the health care of not only yourself, it covers that of your wife, not wives. So if you have wives, you have to prioritize. That's by the way, actually, your wife and 4 children under the age of 18. So that means for you, your wife, and those 4 children, anytime there is any health issue, just walk into the health facility where you are registered through the oranges, and they will take care of everything without asking you to pay a dime. And I'm not just talking about what is hypothetical. I have actually witnessed it. As the head of service of Ondo State, it has happened to me. You know, I had malaria sometimes recently, and you know, I just felt, I think it was a case of self-medication. I just took an anti-malaria drug that I wasn't so, my body system would not, so it affected me somehow. So I had to go and do tests. So the test, I took it to a doctor, and right there and then, as I got to the hospital, it didn't even occur to me, I'm sorry, that, look, you have an NHIS, you have an oranges. So when I got there, they said, are you here to pay? Because I got to the clinic, I did not introduce myself as head of service. So I just got there and they said, are you here to pay or you are on health insurance? So the thing just occurred to me that, you are on health insurance now? I said on health insurance. So they checked through their list and then they looked at the name. At the end, to cut a long story short, the doctor immediately, in fact, the service was so fantastic. They just took me out of, it was like a preferred, a very special patient. They took me out and then they said, when the next patient comes out, you are going in to see the doctor. And I went in to see the doctor. After finishing with the doctor, they wrote their prescriptions, did everything. Before I got out of the doctor's room, my prescriptions were ready. And I moved out. And that's as fantastic as it is. So when you talk about oranges now, in fact, our own health insurance scheme is so comprehensive in that it has provided for some of those things that the usual NHIS doesn't cover. And what are some of those things? Our our own oranges covers your medical, the usual, like the one I went for now. It covers surgery. It covers pediatric treatment and obstetrics. It covers gynecology for our women. So whatever, when it has to do with maybe going through cesarean section or whatever, once it has to do with gynecology, it's covered. And it also covers dental care. It covers, like those of us who have to be checking once in a while the state of our eyes. It covers optical care and it covers rehabilitative services. In fact, it covers, I've mentioned some of the things that for men, sometimes you have to do some surgery in some unique place that concerns men alone, that it takes a lot of money. Our own healthcare program covers that for you. So it's indeed a very robust and comprehensive scheme. And I'm saying it has taken off. For in fact, as at last week, the report I had was that the last set of a group of public servants whose dependents are to be captured now, I think they would have started this week, are the ones in the local government. All other categories of public servants, apart from those in the local government, have been captured. Their dependents also have been captured. So that shows clearly that, when it comes to workers' welfare, Ondo State is in the forefront. Kemi Ojomo, you are talking about the AFRISA system. Thank you very much. We are not going to shy away from that fact. We have discovered, we have seen, we all know that the current appraisal system in the civil service is subjective, and it doesn't actually encourage, it doesn't in any way motivate workers to give their best. And as a stopgap, to fill in the gap, we decided to introduce some of those things you had me mention. Innovation challenge should ensure that people now can see that when you are outstanding, there are ways we can actually recognize you in several ways. You know, recognition has a motivating effect too. That, oh, and these are some of the things we have actually tried now to build into our system. Like when I met Fremont in every organization, that we should try as much as possible set up a team, a committee that would objectively look at the activities of workers in each department, and at the end of the month come up with somebody that can be recognized as the best worker. Token can be given depending on the ability of that organization, but there are some other things that may not be monetary or financial, like pasting the picture of that person and putting it in a very conspicuous place in your organization for external customers and internal customers to see that Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so is the best worker of the month in our organization. And you are able to put a small brief of what led you to reaching that conclusion. That makes the person proud and happy that he or she is recognized. And not only that, we also see a situation where in the civil service today, our appraisal system is such that, like you mentioned, after 3 years, the senior staff will go up. Every one of them will line up again and they will go. We have actually started working on that. We are trying to see how we can reinvent and bring in some, but I can assure you we'll get there. Then Mr. Adetara, in fact, there are some of these things that are, you know, yes, time bound, and you can see them. And let me just cite an instance of showing clearly that the civil service is working. I know you would have had cause to visit the Ondo State Internal Revenue Service. When you look at the whole structure, you look at the ambience of that environment, everything about that building and everything you see working in that place was designed and constructed by civil servants. That is just one of the, you see, time bound in the sense that they gave them, you know, just like contractors will be given, okay, you have to finish this work in 18 months. It was done, and the chairman of the board of the service himself testified to the fact that it was done at a lower cost and the job was completed in fact well beyond the time assigned to it. So we have a lot of other ways, like the agricultural thing we're talking about. Already now, it is most of the processes of working on ensuring that investors are encouraged to invest in plantations. They also go through what we refer to as bureaucratic process, but now the bureaucratic process has been engineered in such a way as to make sure we give value to our customers. And that's why within the system of Ondo State we have a one-stop shop for investors in Ondipa. There, and we have civil servants also driving the system there. We don't have private sector assist you to ensure that if it has to do with CFO, you get it at the right time. If it has to do with all the necessary papers you need to process to get approvals you need to get to ensure that your business goes the way you want it to go in terms of being able to establish and work. All those ones are things that are now available through Ondipa. So we have agencies that are set up to drive some processes. You may be thinking, okay, to farm, It's all about Ministry of Agri. No, it's not all about Ministry of Agri. There are some documentations that will take place there, but there is a kind of network that ensures that all those necessary documentations are done on time to ensure that the investor has satisfaction. So these are some of the things. So but if we talk about time frame, yes, our job in the civil service, no doubt, are measured quarterly. We have a way of appraising ourselves every quarter, because everything is based on what is, the budget, the plannings that we have. So when you talk about the budget now, there is quarterly appraiser. So each ministry will be able to know from what you decide that was designed to be accomplished in your ministry at the point to be accomplished in the budget. And mid-term, we do it. And then before the end of the year, before we get into another budget year. So all these are the processes that are carried out. So there is always a way of appraising. And like I said earlier, within, we also have a process now. When a boss discovers that a mail gets to a junior officer, and the mail is still lying on his table beyond 24 hours, the boss should ask. That's a way of appraising and checking. You have not done your job. This mail, this file should not stay on your table beyond 24 hours. Thank you. Okay, the anomalies in the appointment of permanent secretaries. I want to say that, you see, your conclusion is subjective. But well, you will have a system where when you come into the system, you are employed at the base level of your, maybe what the scheme of service provides for, and you keep rising. So within the civil service, in actual sense, like it has been mentioned through our appraisal system, at times some people retire before they get to level 16. But you just discover if 20 were employed, you are not expecting a situation where 20 people will be appointed permanent secretaries when they get to level 16. It's not going to be possible. One will get there. And if somebody is on level 16, the way Ondo State works now is that we actually emphasize more on merit. But merit will also have to do with, you look at so many other things, so many other factors that will ensure that in terms of there are some other leadership qualities that are required. Somebody may be very good at a particular, carrying out some particular, but what about some other essential qualities that will be required? So picking permanent secretaries, and you say, oh, somebody got to level 16 7 years ago, and somebody got there 2 years ago, and then the person who got there 2 years ago was appointed. No, the issue is the system has actually for a long time been observing. So the system has been able to sift out information that will assist them to be able to take informed decision about all those people. So at the end of the day, the system will know that even though this person has been there for 7 years, this will be better for the system. And you need to also know a situation where you have somebody who is maybe having 4 more years, 5 more years to contribute to the system, and is chosen beyond somebody who has just a month to leave. You know, when you appoint, it may be just appointment based on just rewarding that person for what he has done, not because he has any other thing to add to the system. Do you understand? When you appoint somebody who has more years, you know that this person will be able to contribute more service to the system than the person who is on his way to leave. So the system is not expected to be a system where you believe once you are employed, you must get to the position of permanent secretary. It's not automatic. What do we call it now? The terminal level for any civil servant is grade level 16 or 17, as the case may be. The position of permanent secretary is at the discretion of Mr. Governor, and he will appoint based on what he perceives from within the system as meritorious. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Head of Service. I'm sure that some of the people who have asked questions, if they are not satisfied, they will look for an opportunity to actually. You are all satisfied? Okay. Well, they said they are satisfied.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Head of Service. At this point, having taken the approval of the chairman of the organization, we will take a break. It will be for just 4 minutes. But before we go on break, Head of Service, let me quickly read out some of the questions and comments that have come from our online viewers and terrestrial platform viewers, so that while we're on break, you can chew them and get ready to answer them. The first one is from Mr. Dimola Ijabiyi. He says, you know the perception of civil service as corrupt, and that civil servants teach politicians how to loot the treasury and cooperate with them in doing so. To what extent is this applicable to Ondo State civil service? That's from Honorable Demola Ijabi. Next, from one of our Facebook viewers, Bode Ola, he says, what was wrong with the previous platform of payment, and how do you correct the errors done to workers who probably were affected by its weakness? Another from Savio Olatunji Badejo from Oshobo. He's also a Facebook viewer. He says, Ondo State appears to have the highest turnover of appointments of permanent secretaries and directors. This means the civil service is top-heavy, and so is the wage bill. Aren't you worried by this trend? And Wadara, this is an SMS message. She says, what are you doing to apply technology to the operations of the civil service? From our Twitter handle, this is from Austin Obamoluwa. He says, what is your feedback medium for the conduct and performance of your civil servants who are out of Akure, perhaps in the hinterlands like Alimogija and Imoru, to say a few? And finally, for now, this is from a Facebook viewer. What is the status of the personnel probe by government of Ondo State? Is Bola Wole Oju? So those are the questions that have come from our viewers who are not in the studios, Facebook and terrestrial platform viewers, Twitter, Instagram, and all of that. So, Head of Service, those are questions for you. Well, to our viewer and listener, at this point we will take a break and we'll be back in 4 to 5 minutes. Please, thank you once again to everybody who is in the studio, and of course, especially to the Head of Service. Let's take a break at this point. Thank you. with us on our terrestrial and online platforms for this very strategic engagement, the Roundtable of the Ondo State Radio Vision Corporation, airing on all our platforms, including Osrc Television, Orange 94.5 FM, Sunshine 96.5 FM, Alalaye, Sunshine Online Television, and all our other platforms. Of course, we will continue to read them out as the program proceeds. I'd like to now re-invite the Director of News and Current Affairs, Nike Busari, to continue coordinating.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abodede. I welcome all of us back to this session, and he has said so we must gain speed because a lot of people are still yearning to ask their question, and I hope that it should get tougher and toughest. So let's have our hands up again for our questions this second session. Mr. Wahab Bankole, Mr. Taiwo Ibitoye, okay? Mr. Tope Okeowo, Mr. Temitope Adedeji. Okay, let's have two women. Sister Milola Agundoye and Leyi Falade. So please let's start. Let them go around from Mrs. Timileyi Falade. Don't forget to introduce yourself. Then be very straight to the point. Ask your question and move on so that we can gain speed.
Good afternoon, Head of Service, sir. My question is regarding training. You have always emphasized training of civil servants, but beyond the training institute at the Ilaramokin, that's the PSTI, Public Service Training Institute, I'm not sure there's another platform from those states civil servants to get trained and mix with their colleagues in other states and even at the international level. What can you do to ensure this happens?
Thank you, sir. The head of service, of course, you've been able to marshal so many points as regards the new development that Ondo State government has been able to put on board concerning the civil servant. Now, I want to ask that looking at the income of the states, the IGR, the 30% oil derivation, the education trust fund, and the rest. Just yesterday, the government introduced a new levy of 1,000 naira on taxpayers and majorly on parents. And come to think of it, these people are the one paying the tax earlier before the introduction of that 1,000 naira. And again, they are bringing on board on them another fee. Having it in mind that people are already complaining of heavy tax or heavy taxation on them. Now, when the commissioner in charge yesterday was talking, he said, at the end of the year, the state government will realize like 1 billion naira. Sir, how will you look at this? Do you think the parents will be happy with the government levying them again just to fund education? That is one. Second one, of course, you talked about waste the other time. People listening at home will all agree with me that our waste is badly managed. And to a large extent, we discover that until people keep shouting that we have a lot of them in cities, the government should do the needful in packing them. So, looking at all this, it's like the government is not responsible to its responsibilities. So, sir, what is your office doing, you as a bridge between the government and the civil servant? What are you doing to make sure that things are being done normally. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tope Okeowo.
My question is a follow-up to the question asked from the online platform about the huge number of civil service and permanent secretaries in the state. Is this responsible for the policy of the government to stop promotion? Because we reliably heard that the government has stopped promotion to permanent secretary for now because it has discovered that there are lots of civil servants. That is, I mean, a lot of PS. That is one, sir. Then we have one of the problems we have in Nigeria is because we don't actually know what is our population. Sir, what is the population of civil servants in Ondo State, and what is government paying monthly for the civil servants? We know how to answer that question, considering the fact that not just those in the ministries, those in the teaching service, those in the academics, those in the health sector, and all the rest. So we have to get the accurate data so that we know what government is paying and what constituting the earnings from the state. So that's one. And second one, sir. The third one is that a governor said some times ago that appointment into civil service is a social service because they are not actually contributing to the economy of the state. Do you share this view? And because that was one of the reasons why we have the kind of war like right-sizing, downsizing, all those things, all those sizing. And lastly, sir, you mentioned that you have trained some people, and we want to know the number of civil servants that have benefited from trainings that you have done, at least to enhance their deliverables. This just came to my mind. There are some people that are dead. Some have even traveled out of the country, out of the shores of the country, yet they are still on the payroll. One just happened. I won't mention the name. The woman is dead, but they didn't submit the death certificate so that the children can still be earning the pension, and the salary. So what is the government doing about this? Because people want to call me. People who are dead are not pronounced dead. So we should have to do something about it. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir. You became the head of service about 8 months ago, and want to know your relationship with other permanent secretaries and accounting officers. These are very success you have highlighted so far. That's my question. The second question is the fact that you actually introduced something that was not common before, talking about paying an unscheduled visit to some of the MDAs. How far have you been able to go in this regard, and what are the feedbacks, and what is the motive behind those visits that you have actually doing? And lastly, maybe on a lighter note down, the government actually directed that they must continue to put on native traditional attire every Friday. How about compliance? How are you monitoring that? Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, sir, the head of service, my name is well, I would say that my question is a follow-up to the ones asked from our social media, because they've already prepared, right? When you said that we are migrating from the old payment platform, I got a reprieve. But let me say this, sir, that last year, sometimes last year or so, the state government set up a committee headed by PS or Large Horin. And the outcome civil servants in Ondo State, the public in Ondo State, but entire Nigerians, because of what they discovered. And I think they equally read out the figure of books, which stood at about 500 million that was discovered from the payroll going to private pockets. And civil servants, maybe some who share my ideas, and were the people who actually applauded, because you see what people are doing and you want to query yourself, am I getting it wrong from where I'm standing? When you see what some of the people are doing that came to the fore through that committee. And I want to say this, that I want to believe the reward system in government is one-sided. Because you have told us about the innovation reward for people who actually did well. But the people who actually committed, like Baba Dabi asked, the reward system that we know definitely must be negative. It's kept secret. Now people should know who are perpetrated that, who are making the resources of the civil servant out of the states. So I know you must have been worried when you came on board that what happened then, 500 million naira from HMB and TESCOM alone. What of Ministry of Works? What of other agencies? What of ministries that have to do with foreign funds, like the World Bank of project that you mentioned, sir? Lastly, I want to say this, sir, that the Innovation Award, are you not thinking of a system like my colleague, my brother, Mr. Adetakme asked? Are you not thinking about encouraging civil servants in agriculture? Because in the past, what we knew was people, after this job, they go to farm. Maybe the one we call subsistence farming. So what are we going to go to Ondipa to do documentation again because we want to do 100 heaps of crops? So I want to win that innovation award, so I'm bringing this one to the boss. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, gentlemen of the press and distinguished head of services, Chairman.
Head of service will now
The question of this
has been taken care of. I now respectfully invite the head of service to attend to these questions. Thank you, sir.
Let me thank everyone for the questions asked. I want to start with Chimilei. She said, yes, they are aware of PSCI, what PSCI is doing. Yes. And then is there any other platform through which civil servants are being trained? I want to say that training, we must understand, is a continuous process. It's always an ongoing thing. In fact, every day you get to your table, you are expected to have some things you can learn that will add value to your job. Training does not necessarily have to be formal. It can be informal. And that's one area where we have actually empowered, and we have also given a serious assignment to our change agents. Every time we gather them together for interactive sessions, we give them training on one particular area of what we believe can be useful to the service or the other. And what we expect from them is that when they get back to their workplaces, they should cascade it to the workers. So I'm throwing this to our workers listening to me, that if your own OSHIP ambassador doesn't come to your NDA to say, okay, this is what we did when we went for interactive session for this month, and he doesn't come back to say, please, director personnel or director F&A or whoever is in charge of training, give me a time when I can cascade what I've learned there to what others, then you know that that Osrc ambassador is not performing. So you quickly report such to us, because we have told them that there is not going to be a case of tenure system. They don't have a tenure. We will remove them as soon as we know they are not fulfilling the purpose of their appointment into that position of ambassador. We call them excellencies. If you are an excellency, you should be able to prove your worth. So we have given the accounting, our own accounting officers too, because we've called them and we have informed them that any Osrc ambassador that is performing below expectation in terms of cascading training and ensuring that they live an exemplary life for others to follow, they should be removed. That's just by the way. Then we have, apart from the one we are talking about change ambassadors, in our various MDAs, we can always have in-house programs that will address some specific issues. Those are the things that accounting officers are expected to identify. Probably in the process of carrying out your own job, you know, MDAs have different mandates. So in carrying out your own mandate, if you know that there are some capacity deficiencies, there are ways you can meet those capacity deficiencies. It's either by bringing a professional, somebody who is experienced, to come and address them right there in-house. But you see, the problem we have, let's tell ourselves the truth, is that many people believe that, they don't believe that until they travel to Ibadan or they go to Lagos to do training, what they call training, that they have not been trained. But the truth is that even most of these people that we ask to go to Ibadan or Lagos, they don't even go there.
It's not the training.
We know.
It's the other training.
And that's why we have actually, for this year now, I want to tell Mrs. Timilei, or Miss, that for the public service, the civil service, the training that has to do with centrally deployed officers that are under me, we have actually calendarized, and we have a program of training for them. And those programs of training, they are such that wherever we ask them to go, they can be very sure they will see me there unexpectedly. So at any point in time when I get there and I don't see any of those people that are expected to be in that program, that's going to be a problem. One, the person will have to refund all that we have paid, including the course fee. He will have to refund back to the government, to us. And then other necessary sanctions will be taken. So that is also, by the way, we have plans, calendarized plans for that. And the issue of PSTI, we have programs now in PSTI that we are running in collaboration with some of these the universities around us. We have a memorandum of understanding with Adekunle Ajasin University, which is our own state university, to run postgraduate diploma in management, to run some other master's program that are relevant to the civil service. Then we also have the PGD program for those in the education sector. So these also, they are part of those things that encapsulate what you call training. But like I said, we are trying to disabuse the mind of people from thinking that in-house training is not training. It's only when they go out. And the problem we have had with this training fund is because while we have not been able to, before the issue of lean resources came in, we have abused the system terribly. It has become, we have seen the issue of training as welfare. Training is not welfare. It's manpower, it's capacity development. And we all know, if we are going to appeal to our consciences, that somebody who wants to bury the mother will go to the accounting officer. If the accounting officer says no, that's not what training is for, he becomes a bad man, a bad woman, and they will be going all about cascading the information. Mr. So and so is a very bad man. He's wicked. because he's doing the right thing. But we are getting to that point now where we don't care whose source is God. We just have to do what is right. And everybody has to know that. So that's that about training, Mr. Milain. PSCI is not the only platform. We have a lot, like I've mentioned now, a lot of opportunities on your own too. You can train yourself. There are so many programs and training online that you can undertake on your own. It doesn't necessarily have to be that my office must do it for me. Coursera has made training easy for many people. Go Coursera, you will see a lot of things that you can learn, and they are free. So this is also part of training, and I want to say that government is still very much focused on ensuring that we build the capacity of our workers. Like I've mentioned, it's already embedded into our budget, and we will continue to push it. For those who are centrally deployed, we have calendarized a program for them, and they will be going anytime from now. And it's something we'll be monitoring closely, very closely. You have other plans. We are still approving study leave. If you want to go on study leave, you are qualified for study leave with pay for a program that is relevant to your career growth. We will give you. But for somebody to wake up and say he has an admission to run human resource management from University of Bradford. Human resource management is in Adekunle Ajashi University. Go there and do it. You cannot say we should give you study leave with pay to go to University of Bradford just to do human resource management. You are a medical personnel, maybe a doctor, and all you are now telling us is that you have admission to go and do